Hey everybody, Charles here. This week's episode is titled Destroy Your Competition, and I'm proud to say that this is probably our most misleading title so far. The full title should be Destroy Your Competition with Other People. Rule number 4 in 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. When you choose to compare yourself with or compete with another person, you're setting yourself up for failure in one of two ways. Either you're choosing a rival that is so far above you in skill or success that you'll never measure up to them, and so you'll always feel disappointed in yourself, or you're choosing someone below you so that you'll be able to feel like a winner without ever really pushing yourself. But if you compare yourself to your past self, you always know whether you're getting better or getting worse. Enjoy the episode and reach out with feedback to mindfullymasculine@gmail.com. Welcome to the Mindfully Masculine podcast with Charles and Dan, where we take a conscious, holistic, and direct approach to relationships, mental health, and self-improvement. For additional content, visit our website at mindfullymasculine.com. And to interact with us, our guests, and your fellow listeners, join the Mindfully Masculine group on Facebook.
Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm good, despite my third attempt at wearing a shirt today.
Wow, you've tried 3 times.
Yeah, before
I'm
only
on 2.
Yeah, you only witnessed the second one after I spilled my coffee on the red one. I had a blue one I was wearing this morning, and I was like, I'm just not feeling it. The blue V-neck. It was a light blue V-neck, and it, had some speckles on it and stuff like that. And I think I just worn it for leisure way too many times. So I was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling professional in this for the podcast. So, you know how Steve Jobs had the same V-neck every day. Yeah, I'm the exact opposite of that.
He was a mock turtleneck guy, wasn't he?
Oh, he's a mock turtleneck. That's right. Yeah. Was somebody with like a black V-neck all the time now?
The guys from the Minimalist documentary, they wear the same thing every day. They wear I think it's a black crew neck and jeans, and I think they have the same thought as Jobs, which is it's one less decision to burn willpower and concentration on per day. You just wear the same thing.
Yeah, I like to burn all my willpower before we even start the podcast by picking out a different color every day for
All right. Well, here's a little view in my
maybe that's why I eat at night so bad. Yeah.
Here's a little look into my methodology. I generally pick the shirt I'm going to wear for the day and for the podcast while all the lights are still off in my camper. I just reach into the to the cabinet and grab one, put it on, and then when I walk outside for my morning walk, I'm surprised by what I'm wearing.
Oh wow, you do the old Plinko game, huh?
Exactly.
You just reach into the bag and see what comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any t-shirts that I dislike. If I dislike it, then I either don't buy it or give it away pretty quick. So it's all pretty much a gray, white, navy, brown, green,
Hey, but you're
boring colored V-neck. I just grab it.
Yeah, but you know what? You're hacking the decision fatigue issue, right? So you're still getting some variety.
That's
and
true.
And you're getting a little dopamine hit. You never know what you're going to get. A little surprise when you turn the lights on, right? It's like, oh, look at the color today, right? And at the same time, you're being efficient with your willpower. So good for you.
Thanks. So I was excited to so we're doing something different today. I'll tell the audience. Usually you and I will get on our morning Zooms for our podcast and just shoot the breeze for 30-45 minutes before we decide to start recording.
Way too long.
Yes, way too long. And then as maybe some of our listeners have noticed, it's like, wow, they ended that one kind of quick. That's because we have a limited amount of time to do, and we use up the first half hour with BS, and then we have to rush to finish the chapter that we're covering
to provide any real value. It's like, oh.
Right. So today I suggested, Dan, I was like, let's start recording immediately, and then if we have any time left over, then we can do our normal Monday morning BS at the end.
I like
that
idea.
We won't shaft our listeners with having to rush through our content. So we're going to see how that goes. But one thing I did want to talk to you about was you and I had some pretty different weekends this weekend. We both got up to some interesting stuff, and I wanted to talk about those things.
Feel free to start.
All right. So let's see. What did we do? Friday night, we went downtown, right?
Yes.
Was that Friday night?
Yeah, that was
Yes,
Friday.
that was Friday. So went to downtown Orlando. Um, after a couple of missteps in the Maitland area.
Yeah.
So first we went to the Jazz Tastings Jazz Club, which looked like a really cool place, and I liked what little bit of music we heard there. But the music started, I think, at 7:30, and we rolled in probably 7:45, 7:50, and there were not really any seats left except for like one little two-top table at the very front of the room, right in front of the band, which I knew I would not be able to really enjoy. I mean,
Yeah.
number one, the experience of walking up in front of everyone and taking a seat in front of everybody after the show had already started was a source of anxiety. And then just being that close to the music, which, I'm trying to develop a taste for live music, and so far it's going very well, better than I expected. But being that close to some, a drum kit and some amps and stuff, I don't think I would have enjoyed it. So we decided to file it away and try again when we could get there plenty early to get a nice two-top toward the back of the room.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the music, the 3 seconds that we heard.
Me too.
I'd
Me too.
definitely be willing to go back again and just plan things a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. So then once we bailed on that, we decided let's get a couple of hamburgers. And so we went over to Teak in Maitland, which I've not been to that location of Teak. I've been to another Teak, and I think the one in like the Metro West area.
Mm-hmm.
And the burgers, I mean, they're constantly winning like best burger in Orlando. And as far as like best sit down, not fast food burger in Orlando, I think they're really in the running for that. And we decided to try that, but there was a private party on their patio of 40 or 50 people. And so the kitchen was a bit overwhelmed. And at around 40 minutes waiting for our hamburgers, you and I both decided to pull the ripcord and head elsewhere.
Yeah. Next time we got to figure out how we get invited to the party.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know those. I didn't get a good look at those people. I didn't decide if they were folks I'd want to hang out with or not. I didn't judge their books by the cover. I didn't take a good enough look at the covers.
The book. Yeah. I get it.
Our bartender was nice though. She was really cool about it, and
she put up with your taste of music too.
I was hammering the touch tunes for a while and playing some good stuff in my solitary opinion.
Some of it was no, in my opinion as well. So I
played mostly country music, which is not usually the thing. Right. Usually I'm more aggressive. I hit some 90s West Coast gangster rap and stuff, but I decided to spare the nice folks at Teak from that. And
this time you weren't smoking the chronic, so I feel like how dare
you? That I always appreciate the opportunity to share the fact that I have never ever smoked a marijuana in my life.
Smoked a marijuana. Yeah,
isn't that how they say it? See, that's how little I know about it. I've never tried. I am not a smoker of anything. I've messed around with a cigar and a pipe, but I've never inhaled anything. Just like Bill Clinton. Okay. Oof, timely reference. I've never smoked a cigarette, never smoked a marijuana.
Okay. All right.
So does that make me better than other people? Not for me to say.
At least not on the podcast.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay. So then we which absolutely thrilled me. We made our way to Shake Shack, which I would have rather done in the first place. I think that was my first suggestion, and you said no. Let's go to Teak.
Yeah. Well, you reminded me of the fantastic burger I had at Teak a while ago, and so my mind was set on Teak, and I was like, Shake Shack, come on, it's like fast food. I was like, I don't.
I was looking forward. Once we got that menu in front of my face, I ordered a hamburger with Jack Daniel's hollandaise sauce and scalloped potatoes on the hamburger.
Right. You're not getting that at Shake Shack.
That's
right.
So
exactly.
Good.
That's my point. You get some great creative burgers at Teak. And so I was disappointed we couldn't, I was willing to stay another 10 minutes, but
I didn't have it in me because part of it was the bartender. To her credit, I appreciated her not just pulling a number out of her behind and saying how long it was going to be. She's like, I think it'll be soon, but I really can't tell you. Yeah. I was like, okay, well, I understand that.
Yeah,
that could mean another 25 minutes. So I was too hungry. And then, we were able to use the Shake Shack app and make a quick stop at Trader Joe's to pick up some Cliff Bars and some eucalyptus and some what else?
Some pasture raised organic eggs
Oh,
and
that's right.
some spinach. So, I put the eucalyptus in my shower.
Yeah,
And
nice.
it was very nice. It's very nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Yep.
Yeah, that's a fun
Yep.
experience. I've only done it once, but I saw somebody on Instagram who reminded me of it. I think it was actually like a subscription service where they like will send you eucalyptus every so often to your house so that you can hang it in your shower.
Of course,
Yeah,
everything's a membership these days.
exactly.
Yeah.
That recurring monthly revenue. That's the key to everything, right?
Yeah. So the Cliff Bars, did you put them in your shower too, or what did you
I
do with
did not.
those?
No, I actually ate them. I gave you the chocolate chip one because you were getting a little hungry at the end of the night.
Yeah, I was
Which
kind of a little cranky. Yeah.
the I had the peanut butter one yesterday, as a matter of fact, while I was just doing a walk around my neighborhood. I ate the peanut butter one, and it was not great. But on the hike, I had the chocolate brownie one, and that one was amazing. It was so good.
Made the hike all worthwhile, huh?
Let's not go crazy, but it was good. The other thing I had on the hike, which I texted you about yesterday, was I bought a variety pack of Epic bars, not like the jerky style, but like the softer style. And for the first time on the hike, which we'll talk about in a minute, I had the uncured bacon Epic bar.
The maple bacon, right?
No, I think it was. I don't think it had maple.
It
I think
didn't
it
have a
plain.
little sweet hint of.
I don't think so. No.
Okay. All right.
But now I'm even more excited. There's a maple one.
If you like the savory sweet, the maple bacon is delicious.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's also softer than the other ones as well.
Yeah, the uncured bacon one that I had, I'm pretty sure it did not have any maple on it. I think it was just plain bacon.
You would have noticed. Oh, there's no mistake in that maple.
But man, it was so good. The consistency, the flavor. So that's going to be my favorite. I'm gonna see about ordering either a pack of all maple bacon or all regular bacon because it was so good compared to like the venison in particular is pretty rough.
It's dry. And
I didn't love
it's tough.
The buffalo, okay, not great.
The chicken sriracha is also dry, a little spicy, but that one's also a little bit dry. So yeah, you definitely need a little fluid with that.
I've got two of the chicken srirachas. I haven't tried it yet, but the barbecue chicken was pretty good. I like that one. So barbecue chicken, maple bacon, and bacon. I think those are going to be my three. And they're vacuum sealed and all that. They don't need to be refrigerated or anything. So I'm going to take a page out of your book and just start keeping them in my car with me so that instead of, running into a gas station for a candy bar or a slice of gas station pizza, I'll just have one or two Epic bars in the car with me and use those to.
They're really satisfying. You're giving your body, your body really will keep eating until you have enough protein at a minimum. So your body will stay hungry. It doesn't matter, how many carbs or fat. It doesn't detect that so much. It's more about once you get your minimum amount of protein per day, which is for most people at 60 grams, you're going to continue to be hungry until you hit that protein. Even though there might be a sliver in it in potato chips, you're going to keep eating more and more and more of those if that's all you're eating all day, right? So you're cutting to the chase by having that protein with those Epic bars.
Yeah, I'm definitely for additional hikes, which we'll talk about here in a minute. I'm definitely going to make sure I have plenty of those. And so let's finish the Friday night story. So we finally made it downtown. We met up with our friends Kurt and Richard. We went to the let's see, where all did we go? We went to Mathers.
Yep. And then
we tried going to Antigues, but it was I'd been to Antigues on Wednesday night for trivia, and me and my buddy Ali and his girlfriend, we won first place. Thank you very much. And then so we got a $50 bar tab, and so Saturday night I'm like, maybe I can blow some of this. And Friday night. But we get there and it's way more crowded than it usually is. There's a DJ. I thought he was a little on the loud side, and I was like, okay, let's leave. And then we did Mathers, and then we did Aloha Beautiful, which is the tiki bar that replaced the video arcade bar in downtown Orlando. And I like that place. I like both Mathers and Aloha Beautiful. I had a good time. I had a Shirley Temple at Aloha Beautiful, but it did not come with a maraschino cherry, so I was very disappointed.
Are you going back then?
Yes, I'll give them another shot.
Bring your own cherries.
I don't think they made it with Sprite either.
Keep them in with your pocket square.
That's a good idea. Yes,
your maraschino spot. Oh.
Hello, ladies. May I interest you in some nuclear red, bright, sugary cherries? That's one of the things whenever I get a cocktail like a Manhattan that's supposed to come with cherries, whenever I'm at a fancy craft cocktail bar and they use, the Luxardos the real deep, dark red ones. Of like, no, I want the kind that is on a cheap kid Sunday.
I want everyone to see what I'm drinking. I want people from the door to be able to see me from across the room and what I'm drinking.
It's like, can you just fill up the lowball glass with cherries and a little bit of whiskey? That would be perfect. That was fun. Then then we made our way home, and Saturday, big day. I woke up around 6. I walking around downtown, stone cold sober. I still managed to roll my ankle the night before my 20-mile hike.
Yeah, I forgot about that. How did that ankle hold? Did you feel it the next morning? Was it sore at all? Was that right?
It felt a little weird, like, oh, this is a recently rolled ankle, but no pain. So I was
rolled ankle.
Yeah. Rolled oats and rolled ankles. That's my appetite, or that's my recipe for a good hike. But I noticed, like, it felt a little weird the next day, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna try this. I'm not gonna not do it just because my ankle's a little weird, but
just because I only have one leg. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm not gonna let that stop me.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
So the next morning, started my hike at around 8:20 and finished it around 3:20. Took me 7 hours to do 20 miles. And,
nice, man.
Thanks. The things that slowed me down were the aid stations. Had some good food. They had Monster energy drinks. They had Monster White, which is my go-to of the energy drinks. It's really the only one that I'll drink is Monster White, because it's much more mild flavor, not super sugary, not super tangy. It's my go-to. They had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They had cookies. They had bananas, and it was like, man, they had porta potties. It was wow. It was heaven on earth.
The bartenders, were they responsive? Were you able to,
yes,
able to get your drinks in a timely fashion so it wouldn't affect your time, your hike time too much?
They had big like 5-gallon water buckets that were like on these little propped up on these little holders where you just squeeze this little thing and it just shot out a bunch of water really quickly. So I brought my own water bottle, and now if I do another one of these, I'm not even going to bring my own water bottle, because they have aid stations that are frequent enough that I didn't get thirsty at all while I was walking between aid stations.
How many people you think were there?
I want to say they had a couple hundred people.
Nice.
Yeah, the parking area was pretty full, and they had I want to say Orange County Sheriff's deputies were there, because there was a little bit of the trail that you had to cross a road and stuff, and they had traffic control in place to deal with all the parking and all the hikers and stuff. It was a fairly well orchestrated event. I was impressed, and the pace that they want you to shoot for is 2 point something miles an hour, and I was right around 3.
So was anybody running? Just out of curiosity.
Yes, I did see a couple of runners. Now, wow. I didn't see any runners at the end, which means they either finished way before me or they gave up running and started walking. But there was some parts of the trail that were pretty rough on account of mud and rain and stuff, where I was so glad I've got I talked to you a little bit about it yesterday. I've got 2 pairs of Merrells that I wear for everything wilderness related. I've got a pair of mid Gore-Tex boot Merrells, and I've got a pair of low top Trail Runner Gore-Tex Merrells. And Gore-Tex is just a waterproofing technology that allows a bit of ventilation but also keeps the water out, and my shoes were perfect Saturday. They did exactly what I needed them to do, and I was very happy with that. They were comfortable. They kept my feet dry. My legs were covered in dirt and mud, and even the top of my socks were dirty. But once I got the socks and shoes off, my actual feet that were in the shoes were completely clean and completely dry. So that was great.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. What's the biggest thing that surprised you the most from that 20-mile endeavor?
Really how quickly it passed. At about every 20 minutes I was completing a mile. And based on the podcast or the book or just some things I was thinking about, I didn't seem bored. I didn't feel bored. I didn't feel like, we need to hurry up and get to the next mile marker or anything like that. It was just, it was mostly enjoyable. Around mile 7 or 8, started to feel a little tired. Like, okay, this is gonna be tough.
Yeah.
And then around mile 11 and a half at that aid station, I took some ibuprofen, and that really helped out. My feet were getting a little sore, my hips were getting a little inflamed. So the ibuprofen helped out with that. And then by mile 17, I was feeling really tired, but it's like, only 3 miles left. That's an hour of walking. No problem.
Yeah. You don't give up at that point, right? I mean, that's kind of, you shift into overgear.
Yeah. And even, giving up didn't factor into it. But so here's what I did take out of it. There's another one in April down in South Florida near West Palm Beach, but I don't think I'm going to do that one. I think I'm going to wait until the one on October 2nd in Hackettstown, New Jersey.
That's not far from where our last podcast guest is from. So
sounds like a beautiful area just by the name.
It actually is.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. It's most people don't realize most of New Jersey actually is green in the garden needs, the garden state.
Okay.
And most people just kind of think of Newark, the area, when they think of New Jersey, but that's a very small sliver of what actually New Jersey looks like. And most of it is, really, really nice green farmland and some cute, towns.
What's it like? Nice. Beginning of like first weekend of October, what kind of weather and
it's gonna be cold,
like fall foliage at that point?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That sounds pretty nice then. So
yeah, the reason it should be easy then, because it's going to be easy to walk. It'll be cooler outside for sure. Yeah.
The reason I'm thinking about doing that one is they have a 20 miles in 8 hour option, and they also have a 30 miles in 12 hours option. And I think because I'm crazy, I think I need to escalate. I need to go to the 30-mile one.
I was going to say you're going to do both, but okay.
Right. No, they run at the same time. The 30 miles starts a little earlier and ends a little later, but I think I want to do 30 miles for the next one and see how that goes. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be doing that with you, but I will be doing the 5K.
That's right. We started that today.
Way better starts today. So
yes,
I bet $30 on myself.
Nice.
Today is the first 1 mile. So
yeah, I just finished one on Sunday. I finished a challenge with them. The one that was basically, it ended with running 30 miles, running 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week was the last, like, week number 6. And that ended on Sunday, and I won. I got all of my things in. And so I'm using that money to pay for the next challenge.
Fantastic.
Definitely be sure that you've got to, you're using a Fitbit as well for yours, right? To track your runs. Yeah. You gotta start the exercise. So got to be in that where it's gathering the info, and be careful that, you edit some of the settings. Like, for example, you don't want it to stop by default. Like, if you stop to tie your shoe and you don't change the default setting, it will stop your run. And then you have to start over. So
that's fun.
Yeah, there's a couple settings I found out from
I didn't know that.
The first time that I tried it, that there's a couple default settings on your Fitbit that are not conducive to successly completing this challenge. So
thanks for that heads up. I'll have to
Yeah.
check that out. Yeah, I'll have to look at that.
All right. Let's see. So that's what I did Saturday. All day Saturday, I was running out in the woods while you were having real fun. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. So finished up one of my lessons for my ballroom dancing for Hustle. And then after that, headed over to Sanford for Porch Fest. And that's the first time I had ever been there. They've been doing it for a few years. I don't think they did it last year for obvious reasons, but it basically is, I guess, in the historic district of Sanford, Florida. And they have, it's probably 20 blocks worth of different houses where it's all kind of spread out. And they've got 10 to 12 bands that play on different porches on these different houses. And, there a lot of them are cover bands. Some of them are originals, but it's all music that, you've definitely heard before. They put food trucks out. They've got little bouncy houses and things for kids to play with. And, there's families and it's all day on Saturday. And, met Kurt and Andy and one of their friends, Travis, out and grabbed grabbed a little beach chair, stuck it to my back, made my way through the crowd, knocked over a couple of women and children as I was making my way to the front, and and got to plop down and sit, right on the street and listen to some fantastic music. And the bands, they do it really in a really smart way. They rotate through, they're each of the places, each of the houses is a couple blocks from each other. And apparently I found out it's a different house every year that they do, or different houses they do every year. And, a couple, supposed to be drinking, but a couple of people had some drinks. It was a great time. And it's crazy because every time I go out with like Kurt and Andy, they know everybody. It doesn't matter where they are,
right?
So they're really far north from where they normally are. And it's just like, you can't go 5 feet without them, meeting somebody, whatever, but it's great. It's a great environment, because they're, it's nice to be popular and to be with the popular kids like Kurt and Richard, so, and even Richard made it out. He wasn't going to, he was going to make it. He had a client to attend to. And so, but he still showed up at the end. And it was really impressive music. I had a great time. Can't wait to do it. I'm going to cancel all my plans for it for next year. And they really should do this like a festival, like over a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The weather was perfect. It was warm, a little breeze going through. So I highly recommend Porch Fest.
Nice. I've never been. And when I started seeing the Facebook notices about it, leading up to it, I thought, oh, maybe that would be fun. Maybe that'll be another ingredient to add to my recipe of getting into live music. But then I realized that it was the same day as the hike, so it wasn't going to work for me. Yeah,
they thought of it. I mean, it was all barricaded off. There was plenty of parking, so getting in and out was very easy. I was able to park. I showed up late, and I got there, and I only had to park a couple blocks from where everything was happening. They had porta potties outside, so they knew what they were doing. And another well-run event, talking about, I appreciate when events are run well, because I've been to plenty that haven't been. So this was definitely, at least from what I experienced, was done really well.
Yeah, that can be frustrating when you're looking forward to an event and you go and you can just tell that the people running it had no clue how to lay it out in any kind of a manner that makes sense and makes it easy to get around and easy to enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's good downtown Sanford is developing a reputation of having pretty good events that are well run and well attended. So that's nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great.
All right. And then what'd you do later that evening, Dan?
I went back to bed and just slept it off. I didn't, I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. No, I actually graduated from the beginner's hustle class that I was taking for the last 8 weeks.
You had your recital for grown-ups?
We had the recital for grown-ups, yes. And we had to perform our routine. It was like, I don't know, must have felt like it was like 10 different hustle moves we needed to put together in a sequence. And, all the classes that our instructor teaches. So probably, 7 or 8 of them, beginner, intermediate, advanced, all different types of ballroom dance style. They all got up, in a local church here. And we all performed what we had been learning over the last 8 weeks for everybody else in the room, and everybody was really kind, gave applause and lots of screw ups from a lot of people. Not me, of course. I was perfect.
No, obviously, no.
And we all got a little certificate at the end, certificate of completion, and it was great because it was like the third time I had taken the beginner hustle class. And it was finally at this point where I didn't have to think as much, but I still got some feedback from some from family basically going, hey, next time you should look like you're actually enjoying yourself when you're dancing. and I get that all the time. I get, hey, really? Smile, enjoy yourself. Right. Yeah, I do. I mean, I was enjoying myself a little bit, when I was doing it. But again, my brain is thinking so much and so hard about, okay, what am I doing next? What are we doing next? And then you're up in front of a group of people. And so you're feeling a little bit of pressure. So the next time I take a hustle class, I'm going to take the intermediate. After that, during this, I'm going to focus on smiling and actually enjoying the music and trying to relax a little bit. So I still felt like a little stiff.
Now, has your dance partner for the recital, has she gotten word when the casts are going to come off of her hands?
No, we're hoping any day now.
Okay, that'd be nice.
She's gonna get an update.
Yeah, I'm going to be taking a group class by the same teacher you go to. You're taking it with me. We're going to do the beginners rumba class, and I'm looking forward to that. So I'm doing a mix. I'm trying to,
So you're going to have a graduation and a little recital yourself.
yeah, I can't help but notice you haven't posted the video of your dance yet on social media.
Yeah, that's not going to happen on this
You're
one.
not going to do
So
it.
not
It
this
looked
one.
so
No,
good.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. But it's really being held for evidence right now in terms of the accident that happened.
Right,
So,
right.
kidding. No. I want to make sure that I look like I'm enjoying myself before I post it. So my goal is to post the recital video from the intermediate class, and I will make sure that I've got a smile on my face and I look a little bit more relaxed. And yeah, that's what.
Well, here's my goal. I'll do you one better. My goal is to come out of the swing night that we're going to do in late March up in Jacksonville. I want to come out of that night with a good video that I can post.
Okay. Yeah.
So my coach Victoria and I we're gonna hit the East Coast swing pretty hard the next few weeks so that I feel a little bit more natural and also look like I'm having fun. And I want to get a good video. So at least the three of us. I'm going to check with a couple other friends that dance and see if they might join us up there as well. And there's like a craft cocktail bar up in Jacksonville, Florida, that has a swing dancing night like once a month. And I've almost gone a couple times now, but this March is one I'm gonna make it. And my dance coach is going too, and you're going too. So it's gonna be a fun little field trip up to North Florida.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to bone up on my swing a little bit here. I'm a little rusty on that, so we'll need to.
You can come along to my Wednesday or my Monday afternoon lessons whenever time permits. That's when I'm taking them now. I've switched to 3 p.m. on Mondays. So if you want to make it work, you're welcome to join me.
Thank you. Well, we'll need to check the schedule on that.
All right. Anything else to cover before we? My Sunday was completely eaten up by mostly laying in bed and recovering and trying to get my strength back from what I did to myself on Saturday. How about you? Did you do anything crazy yesterday?
No, I got organized for the week. So,
nice.
And did a little of chapter 4, rule number 4 here from.
There was one other thing I did.
Rules for life. Yeah.
Inspired by our trip Friday night to Trader Joe's. I went back to Trader Joe's yesterday and bought 4 dozen of those pasture raised eggs.
They're good. I had a couple this morning.
Now I got a refrigerator full of eggs. Had to play a little bit of Tetris when I got home, trying to get stuff to fit into my tiny, camper refrigerator. But I have 50 plus eggs right now. Because another thing I was thinking of for you and I have to get our pictures taken soon, because as we start sharing the podcast and marketing it, we need to. Everybody says people want to see your faces, and more mine than yours, but so what we need to do is go to my professional photographer I've used before and get some pictures done. Yeah. And one of the best ways I've heard to lose some weight quick to look good for a picture is to go on an egg fast, where for like 3 days all you do is eat eggs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do that.
Try to egg fast. Yeah.
Try to lose a little bit out of the chubby cheeks.
Yeah. You know what would actually work even faster?
Not eating
a real fast.
Oh yeah.
Not eating at all. Yeah. Water. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
It's rough the first day, and then I think day 2.
How long have you gone doing just water?
I've gone 4 days, I think.
Whoa.
The longest time. And yeah, day 2 it gets easier because all the hormones kick in to basically suppress.
Tell your body, hey, you're starving right now, so
actually no,
act accordingly.
Your GH, your growth hormone increases, and
really?
Your cortisol actually increases a little bit. And cortisol, again, it's an energy. It's used to generate energy, right? Actually, right. So what happens is, basically our body goes, hey, there isn't enough food around. We need to upregulate all of the hormones that will help you find food. Right. So then after basically your body's going, well, I'm not getting more food. Hey, we need to go find food. So what are things that is your body going to do to help you be more likely to find food? So you're going to have more energy. You're going to have more clarity. And all these people, people report that. And I had that experience too. And it's also going to suppress your hunger. because if you're starving, it's hard to think of doing anything else, right? Stabilizes your blood sugar. Like a lot of really great benefits happen, but you have to get through that. The first day and a half sometimes is really rough.
Okay.
Without, but you can supplement with like water and coffee and things like that, and not really mess. But any significant calories, could affect your body's natural hormone processes. So,
Interesting.
Don't go. Dr. Jason Fung is a great resource. So if you're looking to do any kind of fasting, check out Dr. Jason Fung. He's got the obesity code, and he talks about how to fast properly and things like that. So check him out if you're looking to do any type of fasting.
Okay, I will keep that in mind when it's once we schedule our photo shoot and it's time to shed a couple pounds for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's what do they say? The camera adds 10, so got to drop 10. All right, so let's get into rule number 4.
Speaking of dropping 10 pounds, the rule number 4: what, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to someone else is today. Yeah,
right. I don't want to be as skinny as somebody else is now. I want to be skinnier than I am right now.
Yes, good.
This is a
okay, we're done with that chapter now. All right, there you go.
This is a shorter chapter, but it's a good one. And the thing that I found interesting about it, and the thing I liked about it was, he spends most of the time of the chapter. So yeah, the title is "Compare Yourself to Who You Were Yesterday, not to who someone else is today." But if you're going to engage in any kind of positive comparison where you're evaluating yourself and then measuring yourself up to something else, you have to learn how to see yourself before you can have any kind of a good comparison. So he spends a lot of this chapter on the idea of vision and awareness and attention and what it takes to, be able to essentially look at yourself in the mirror and see what's actually there.
Yeah. And there's a part where he even, kind of goes through a little scenario about you having a conversation with yourself. And
yes,
I
negotiating with yourself.
And yeah. I want to read that one a little bit later when the time comes. But I really like that because I do that with myself all the time. And that, to me, it's kind of eye-opening when I start talking to myself like a stranger.
Yeah. One of the things he says early on, which really just hammers the point home of not comparing yourself to other people, is no matter what you think you're good at, if you stand next to the wrong person while you do it, you'll look incompetent.
Yeah. And right. And he also kind of says that a lot of times we think that's the only measuring stick at that point, right? Is to compare at that level. And, and it's like, or in that area of life, where it's, somebody is, a better podcaster than you, but maybe they're an alcoholic, or maybe they've got a horrible marriage, or, what I'm saying? So it's impossible to say one is better than another, at life. Right. But
it is tough to say, man, that guy's so much of a better podcaster than me. And he records his episodes completely drunk. that one hurts a little bit. So
stings a little bit more.
That one stings. Yeah. No, but if we fortunately, we just published episode 13 today, the episode with your dad. And looking back, I've not yet had the intestinal fortitude to listen back to episode number 1, but I'm sure it's not as good as what we're putting out right now and what we're recording today.
I listened to episode 30, that one with my dad this morning before we hopped on the call, and I loved it. It was so good. It was
fun.
I really enjoyed it. You were great. And my dad was fantastic. And it kind of touched, for me, it hit home a little bit because, I don't have any kids. And so, one of the things that goes through my mind is, what kind of legacy am I going to have, in terms of, when my life is over and stuff like that. And do I feel like, I've really, sometimes I feel like I'm not, I haven't connected with, family members or friends as much as I could have. But what was nice was that last episode, we kind of went through a lot of things that, my dad and I experienced through life, and we've got it on tape now. We've got it on recording. Yeah. That's something I can, leave to, any of our 3 listeners, or my niece or nephew to listen to, and so it was, I forgot how many little, memories of our lives that we touched on, from, the marathon that he did in skydiving together,
Right.
and him, giving me some hypnotherapy to help me stop sucking my finger and stuff like that, and your comments along the way were just heightened everything and made everything better. So thank you for that. And thank you for your contribution on that.
You're welcome. I listened to the episode yesterday while we were driving around trying to get an idea of, hey, what would be a good clip to put on social media today with the episode release. And I really enjoyed just listening back to the conversation. And the one thing that made me laugh, and as anyone who spends significant time around me will back up the idea that, man, I love laughing at my own jokes. And so when you mentioned to him about, being a therapist longer than you've been alive. And he was like, yeah, let me do some of the math. And he says, well, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 1969. And I go, nice.
I missed that. Yes. Oh my God. I was listening. Oh, you're such a child.
I know, I really am. But I had just pulled out of my campground to drive to Orlando to get some kitty litter, and some and 4 dozen eggs. And I'm pulling out, and I hear that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so juvenile. I can't believe I did that, but that's hilarious.
Oh my God. I missed that one this morning. That's hysterical.
Yeah, it's right at the beginning. But
so I was too busy thinking about my own response to that. So yeah.
So speaking of you're having those thoughts about your legacy, and that you haven't had kids yet. I had a weird thought this morning, which was and it didn't make me sad. It may be a little melancholy, maybe a little introspective. It's I'm 44 now, and you're what, 47, 48? I forget.
47. Let's not rush it.
Okay, sorry. I thought today, like, the timer's running, and I may not ever experience grandchildren at this point. Where, that's okay. That's the result of choices that I've made, but it's weird to think about, okay, there is a timer that we all have to live with, and that's one of them that occurred to me this morning. Like, yeah, I can still start a family, get married, have kids, but at some point, unless my daughter or son is participates in the trend of the teen mom, then I may be running up against a countdown where I don't get to meet my grandkids. And it's an interesting thing. I'm a big fan of the old adage of memento mori. Remember death. Remember that you're going to die. Mm-hmm. And I think that can inspire some better choices while you're alive. And yeah, there's a countdown, and there are things that if you don't do them by a certain age, you're not going to do them. And one of those might be meeting grandkids. And I was like, wow, that feels very real. And again, not like, oh, boo-hoo, I'm so sorry I didn't have kids younger or anything like that. It's just an interesting thought that occurred to me this morning. And like, I wonder what this means, that this is occurring to me, and I'm spending a little bit of time thinking about this. What can I turn that into, as far as a way to either appreciate life more or get more out of life, or setting goals and setting things that I would appreciate. Why did that thought occur to me? There's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason that occurred to me today, and it's never occurred to me before.
Well, it sounds like a great conversation to have with Renata as well.
Yes, it does. And we'll be releasing her episode a week from today. Yeah. The day that we're recording this, not the day that you guys are hearing this, because we're probably a month out from where we're recording versus where we're releasing. But I'm looking forward to re-listening to that episode with her during the week this week, and picking out some good tidbits to share on social media. But okay, let's get back to the chapter. So yeah, I really do appreciate the idea that there's always going to be somebody better than you, and if you compare yourself to them, you're going to feel worse. But it's also kind of a little bit of a cheat for you to compare yourself to people that are not doing as good as you, because then you get to feel better about yourself than maybe is warranted.
Yeah. And, along those lines, he also kind of frames life and the things that we're doing as life as games. in terms of a career, right? And if whereas basically, there's a game that you play, you can be, a lawyer or a carpenter or a school teacher, and those are all different games. And what's wonderful is these days it's even easier to then, if you don't like the game that you're playing, you can switch games, you can change your career, or you can invent your own career. I mean, social media influencer. I mean, that wasn't around 10 years ago. I mean, come on, or 15 years ago. So that's the thing is, and when you start thinking of it and not just our careers as games, but, what you do for your activities, your hobbies, your, how you conduct a lot of things that you do in your life, it's similar to the type of experience, where I've heard of people saying, listen, this is an experiment, right? When you're doing something, think of it as an experiment, so that when things don't go the way you want them to, or you're not successful, or you fail at something, that you kind of take that in stride, and you realize, hey, this is a game, you're figuring it out, and let go of that perfection, the unrealistic tendency to be, perfect at everything and get everything right, especially like the first time. So there's another way of phrasing that, hey, take it easy on yourself. You're playing a game.
Yeah. I shared a reel on Instagram this week that, it was a woman telling the story of when her and her brother were children, when they would sit down for dinner with their dad would always say, "What did you fail at this week?" And he would inspire them to try things and fail at, whether it's trying out for a team, or, asking somebody out on a date, or trying a new skill. And the weeks where they didn't have anything to report that they failed at, he was disappointed that they didn't try and fail at something, not that they didn't succeed.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, what a great message to send to your kids. Like, the idea of trying and failing at things is what makes you a little bit better at everything, really. I mean, no matter what you fail at, you're going to get better at everything else just from the failing.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not sure if we talked about this on the last podcast, but basically, part of our brain is designed to fail and learn through that failing, because there's some studies that show that, our certain hormones get released in terms of improving our focus and our attention and our motivation right after we fail at something. And the idea is so that we don't fail at it again. That's why it is a biological function that clicks on.
Yeah.
And so you actually, and when those hormones are elevated, your ability to do better is enhanced. You're literally on steroids kind of, in terms of, your ability to do something. So use that, leverage your natural biological patterns to help, move things forward for you and make improvements.
Yeah, one of the things that Peterson has, I've seen plenty of clips of him talking about, is the idea that memory does not exist so that you can remember and think about your past. The purpose of memory is so that when something happens to you in the future, you already know, you have some sort of a framework of how I should address this and ultimately how I can survive this.
Yeah.
And so the reason that we remember our past is so that we're equipped to deal with our future. And the closer every time that you attempt something and you get close to success, but you don't quite achieve it, then that improves the odds that the next time you attempt that thing or something close to that thing, you're going to have the success that you need.
Right. Yeah. I like that. I remember that. Yeah. Memory is really a learning tool.
Yeah. And it's a forward looking tool. It's not a way for you to, ruminate and focus and be preoccupied by your past. It's a way to ensure your survival in the future. And, that's a good context to put in, either negative memories of things that you didn't like, or even positive memories of, a relationship or a job or a circumstance that you don't have anymore that you miss. It's like, no, you can look back at that with sentimentality and realize, okay, this has prepared me to both appreciate and succeed in the future in a way that I can't quite see yet.
Right. And those memories also shaped the actions that you've thus performed since they happened, right? In terms of, because you're thinking of them, right? And he makes the point that it's really doesn't make any sense for us to compare ourselves to anybody else on the planet, because nobody has the same exact experiences and unique traits and personality traits that you have. So then the older we get, the more unique we become. So the less valid you comparing yourself to anybody else then becomes as well. Right. And as you were talking about that, the memories thing, that's where it just kind of clicked with me and goes, well, yeah, because we have those unique experiences. Think about that. Nobody's had those experiences, the same experiences that you've had, or very few people have. And then you combine them all together, and then all of the other experiences that you've had in terms of education and in learning and, being around different people and attending, you are completely unique. And so for you to try to compare yourself to anybody else, in terms of, success in life, things like that is pointless.
Yeah. And what a freeing mindset to adopt too. It really does let you lay down your baggage and move forward instead of having to drag something heavy behind you. One of the ideas that he mentions, and I'll quote it here briefly, and I wanted to see what you thought about it, was perhaps happiness is always to be found in the journey uphill and not in the fleeting sense of satisfaction awaiting at the next peak. When I hike, I typically don't enjoy it that much while in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my enjoyment from hiking comes at the end of the trip, when I get to think back of, okay, that's something that I got done. That's something I accomplished. I set my sight on that goal, and I achieved that goal. And now I feel good looking back on it, thinking I'm the guy that pulled that off. I decided I wanted to do it. I did it, and I got it done.
Yeah.
And I wonder, similar to another conversation from a future rule that you and I are going to have, is that a feature or is that a bug? The fact that I seemingly don't take pleasure in hard things in the moment. I only take pleasure in them after I've achieved them and I look back at it. Is that how it's supposed to work, or is there maybe a better way that I'm missing out on? And you can share, based on your former athletic pursuits, based on, the weight training you do on a, semi-daily basis now, do you enjoy it when you're in the moment, or is it after it's over that you look back and feel the enjoyment?
So the way you're phrasing this to me, it sounds like you either enjoy it or you don't. And I'm going to say that I think that's not really what you're intending, because there is definitely shades of enjoyment, right? Shades of gray in between, right?
Yeah,
fully enjoying it and hating it, right? Yeah. So I'm going to agree with you that afterwards, I definitely have more enjoyment than during. However, I am not miserable during. And you probably weren't miserable while you were hiking. I think what you were listening to some podcasts you said, or
that's true.
Some Audible books,
yes,
right?
That's fair. I was not miserable.
And right. So you weren't at the peak of, having that dopamine hit, that of accomplishment afterwards. Right. And thinking about it, right. It's not going to be the same, but it's still somewhat pleasurable. And so I think that's my answer.
That's a good point. It's not like, you're right, I'm not miserable. I am tired. I am a little sore. And, that's one thing I did hear from somebody recently was, or maybe it was a couple of years ago, I think it was in a book that I read, that said basically, there's two kinds of fun. There's fun you enjoy in the moment and fun you can enjoy for the rest of your life. And the harder something is in the moment, the more enjoyment, or even really just joy, you'll have on the memory looking back. Where, when I did Half Dome in 2017, it was fun for a while, but it turned pretty miserable pretty quickly. But I still look back on it. It's one of my favorite memories in my life was getting to the top of that mountain. Whereas something like, riding my favorite roller coaster is an absolute pleasurable blast in the moment, but I never really look back and think, oh, remember that time I rode whatever roller coaster,
the Hulk.
The Hulk's okay.
Hulk's great.
It's Cheetah Hunt or Cheetah Run. I forget what it's called. I always get the name wrong, over at Busch Gardens. That's still my favorite roller coaster.
Okay.
But I don't look back on, the memory of riding a roller coaster doesn't get me through hard times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, while, during the hike and, while I'm lifting and stuff like that, sometimes, it's the anticipation of the reward at the end, which is saying you've completed it, you got it done.
Right.
Sometimes that is an underlying, source of motivation to kind of get you through some of the hard times. But I know sometimes when I'm struggling a little bit, I'll switch up my music, and I'll go, okay, I need something that's going to pick me up a little bit more than,
right.
For this next set, before I do it. And, music's fantastic for that. Yeah. I used to lift without, music, or I'd go for periods of time and then I'd switch back to it. And then it's great. I mean, it really makes a big difference in terms of my endurance.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. Around mile 18, a friend of mine shared a sort of a funny kind of comedy parody song with me during the week this week. And I put it on for like 3 or 4 repeats while I was in the last couple miles. And I looked like a maniac. I'm just walking, everybody is dead tired the last couple miles. And I'm laughing like an idiot listening to this stupid song.
I wish we had that on tape. Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah. I felt fantastic. I was listening to it fairly loudly, so people were like coming up behind me that I didn't realize they were passing me, and I'm just like giggling at this stupid song while they're walking by me.
Passing / avoiding. Yeah,
exactly. Like, what's wrong with this guy? I think he's lost it. This guy should have stopped at mile 15.
This guy's dehydrated. Exactly. Medic.
All right, let me see what else I had. I did enjoy the section called What You Want and What You See. And then he talks about how expensive the act of vision is on your brain, which was, I forgot, I read this book a few years ago when it first came out, and I forgot about that part where
that was news
your ability to pay attention to multiple things at once is not as, you're not as good at that as you probably think you are, because the act of seeing things is such an expensive thing for your brain to do.
Yep.
Which is probably part of the reason that I find listening to audiobooks so much more relaxing than actually reading books.
Me too. I'm an audio guy as well. And podcast. That's absolutely, I consume more. I remember more. Just the thought of me starting to read something really starts to already give me a little bit of anxiety inside. Like, oh my God, this is gonna be a lot of work kind of thing, whereas listening to something, no problem. Pop it right on.
Yeah. And just, to pull the veil back a little bit on what it is we're doing with this podcast. For me, I always have to have, whenever possible, I get the audiobook and I get a paperback or hardcover version of the book as well. And I feel like using both of those to prepare for these recordings really helps me, because it does seem to engage different parts of my brain, and different things will occur to me when I'm listening to the audio version of the book versus when I'm reading it.
Yeah.
And so I can make my notes based on that different experience.
Basically, when you're seeing something out of place, you want to change something, just ask yourself, what could I do that I would do that would accomplish that? And what small thing would I like as a reward? Again, he kind of reinforces what I keep telling you and other people do, is start small with tiny habits.
Right. Yeah. It really does help in the moment when you feel overwhelmed by a task or a goal, or even where, you want to be in your life in 5 or 10 years. The idea of what's the smallest thing that I could do right now that would help the situation, and would I be willing to do that smallest thing without judging it and thinking, oh, that's too small, there's no way that's gonna.
Right. I like that. It takes the little stress off, because it's like, would I be willing to do that? You don't have to, I could do this, I could do that, I could do that. But then he adds that layer of, would I do it? Right. So that you basically, because you could be like, oh, I could do all these things. And then sometimes I think, oh my God, I don't want to do that. That sounds like a lot of work, So, all right, that's off the list. Cross it off the list. Spend some time. Is there something smaller that you could do? Just one little thing, And then the important part is acknowledge yourself for that.
Yeah. And also, the other thing is to keep in mind are your goals what your goals should be? I mean, are you setting your sights on something that you should be making a priority, or are you picking goals that needlessly add to your suffering? And I think we may have talked about that a little bit on the last episode. The idea, I don't know, you and I talk so much, it's hard to remember what we talk about on a podcast versus what we talk about, over a glass of club soda trying to solve the world's problems, right?
Yeah. It all kind of blends in.
It does. But the idea of, maybe my problem is not that I want my boss's job and I can't get it. Maybe my problem is that I can't stop myself from wanting my boss's job. This outcome to or this attachment to a specific outcome that I think this is what I need to be happy. I need this position at work. I need this romantic partner. I need this relationship with a difficult parent that I can't seemingly make happen. It's like, your problem may not be that you don't have that thing. Your problem may be that you can't stop yourself from wanting that thing.
Yeah. And along those lines, he mentions that happiness isn't a destination. It's a side effect of finding meaning.
Right. And I always go back to one of the things that Sam Harris says, which is, you can't become happy. You can only be happy. Meaning
right.
you can never throw a goalpost in the ground 100 yards away and say, once I get there, then I'll be happy. Like, no, all you can do is decide to be happy exactly where you are right now, or learn what it takes to be happy where you are right now, and stop looking at happiness as some sort of an end goal that you have to keep working toward, so that someday you can get there.
Yeah, and that goes back to what Peterson talks about in this book, is that as humans, we are wired to continually set new goals and to continually not stay in spot A, but to move towards B. That, the whole vision thing is we're always looking to improve something. We're always looking to move to the next level. So basically, if you are saying that happiness is, at that level of that next step, once you get there, you realize, wait a minute, this doesn't like offer happiness. You might get, a quick, dopamine hit of feeling good or whatever. But basically, if you are saying that happiness is once you hit all of these goals, it's always a moving target. You'll never get there. So yeah, that makes sense with what you're saying with Sam Harris is, be happy. You need to find a way to be happy as you're doing those things, right? And the meaning comes from you continually to do those things and find those things to do. And the fact is that you are doing them, you're in the process of doing them. To me, in my mind, I feel like that makes me happy. Right. And so, and this podcast is one of those things that I'm grateful for, that really have made me feel happy, even though we have got goals for that and we haven't hit them yet. But again, I think that it also kind of ties into that state of flow, right? When we talk about that, where you're doing things that you love and you really enjoy. And I feel like that is a very satisfying type of happiness feeling. And I'm fortunate to have been able to do this with you. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a section I'd like to read on page 106, if that's cool with you, where he talks a little bit about, and he starts it by saying, in reference to that idea of having, being attached to, I want this job, I want this fill in the blank, instead of, realizing that your problem is that you can't stop wanting. He says, you decide to aim for a better life instead of a better office. And I really like that idea. And then he says, but you don't stop there. You realize that it's a mistake to aim for a better life if it comes at the cost of worsening someone else's. So you get creative and you decide to play a more difficult game. You decide that you want a better life in a manner that will also make the life of your family better, or the life of your family and your friends, or the life of your family and your friends and strangers who surround them. What about your enemies? Do you want to include them too? You bloody well don't know how to manage that, but you've read some history. You know how enmity compounds. So you start to wish even your enemies well, at least in principle, although you are by no means yet a master of such sentiments. So I like that he, continues to put it in the context of a game. And once you're willing to take on a game that will lead to a positive life for you, it's like, you don't have to win that game for you to realize, you know what would be even better than this game is a game where I can have a better life, and my family will have a better life, and my friends will have a better life, and strangers will have a better life, and my enemies may even get the benefit of a better life because I keep setting my sights higher and higher games to play.
Yeah, that's great.
It really is. And
that's great.
And again, that's we've talked about the goals we have for this podcast, and they are not low goals. They are high goals. And not just for, I'm not just looking to live in a fancier camper. I'm looking for, one guy to be able to skip and take a shortcut over some of the mistakes I've made, and get to the richer life that I'm shooting for. Some stranger may be able to get there in a way faster than the way I did, with less heartache and less pain for, the people he cares about than I've had to go through. And that would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Because then, think of the effect he's going to have on people through that process and through his successes.
Yeah, that, this was a good chapter. I enjoyed walking around, listening to it. I think I did it on Friday and finished it and made some notes. And there's good stuff to be found in these chapters. Though I will say, as a bit of a preview, there are some difficult ones coming up. 5 through 9, 5 through 10 are there's some tough ones, and I'm looking forward to trying to conquer them and put them out to our listeners in a way that they'll be able to understand, find value, find inspiration, motivation, and hopefully, be better off for having heard our take on it. Yeah,
I'm excited for that as well. So that being said, anything else to offer today, Charles?
No, I think we've covered sufficiently covered what you and I have going on in our lives, and sufficiently covered what we think about this rule.
Mission accomplished. All right, sir.
All right, have a good one, and if we've got some time, I'll look forward to shooting the breeze with you a little after this recording ends.
Sounds good, man. All right.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for spending time with us on the Mindfully Masculine podcast. If you liked the episode, or you think it would be useful for someone else, please leave us a review and join the Mindfully Masculine group on Facebook. Remember, fellas, don't act masculine, be masculine.